I wonder why trees have leaves and other questions about plants by Andrew Chairman. What is a plant? Plants are living things. They come in all shapes and sizes, from tiny water weeds to towering trees. Plants are different from animals in one very important way. They can make food for themselves from sunlight. Animals can't do this. They depend on plants for their food. Where do plants grow? There are about 380,000 different kinds of plants on Earth, and they grow just about everywhere. In fields and forests, deserts and mountains. Besides air, the two things plants need are sunlight and water, so you won't find them in places that are completely dark or dry. All the food in the world starts with plants. You may eat eggs, meat, and cheese, but without plants, no chicken or cow could produce these foods. Are plants really alive? Plants are just as alive as you are. They need air, food, and water to grow, and they can make lots of new plants like themselves. This proves that they're alive. Things like stones and rocks don't feed, grow, or have young because they're not alive. Corals and sea anemones may look like plants, but they are imposters. In fact, they are animals. Why do trees have leaves? Like all plants, trees need their leaves to stay alive. Leaves are a tree's food factory. They contain a sticky green substance called chlorophyll. The chlorophyll uses the energy from sunlight to turn water and carbon dioxide into a sugary food. The food is then carried to every part of the tree in a sweet, sticky juice called sap. If you have ever chewed a blade of grass, you know how sweet sap tastes. Hungry young caterpillars think so too. That's why they eat leaves. Grass and leaves are both full of sap. Why do some trees lose their leaves in the fall? Big green leaves are useful in spring and summer. They make food while the sun shines and the days are long. When the days get shorter, there's less time for making food, and the tree has to live off of its food reserves. Some trees shed their leaves in the fall so they don't have to feed them too. We call plants that lose their leaves in the fall deciduous. Evergreen trees have tough leaves that can survive the winter. Evergreen trees still lose their leaves, but not all at the same time. The way plants make food in their leaves is called photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide from the air. Then they give out oxygen, the gas nearly all living things need to survive. Why do leaves change color in the fall? It is the chlorophyll in a plant's leaves that makes them look green. But in the fall, the chlorophyll breaks down. When the green coloring is gone, the leaves' other colors show through, beautiful shades of red, yellow, and gold. Why do roots grow so long? Long roots keep a plant firmly in the ground so it won't fall over on windy days. But roots do other jobs too. By spreading out underground, they can suck up the water and minerals from the soil that the plants need to grow. Then the stems carry the water from the roots up to the leaves. In the strongest winds, a tree can sometimes be blown over. Its roots are wrenched out of the ground as the tree falls down with a crash. A wild fig tree in South Africa grew roots 400 feet down into the soil. If it was put on the roof of a 40-story office building, its roots would reach down to the ground. There are tiny hairs at the end of the roots. They burrow into the spaces between pebbles and grains of soil. Why are stems so straight? A plant needs to hold its leaves up to the sunshine, which it uses to make its food. Many plants grow tall, straight stems so they can beat their neighbors to the sunlight. Sunflowers not only grow up toward the light, but their flowers also follow the sun. As the sun moves across the sky through the day, the flower heads turn to face it. Not all plants have straight stems. Some have stems that bend and curl, scrambling their way over nearby plants as they climb up to the light. Why do plants have flowers? Many plants have colorful, perfumed flowers that attract insects and other animals. The visitors feed on drops of sweet nectar inside the flower. As they feed, they pick up a fine yellow dust called pollen, which they carry to another flower. When the pollen rubs off on the second flower, that flower can start to make seeds. This plant is called hot lips, and no wonder. The red lipstick markings on its leaves are a wonderful way to attract visitors to its tiny flowers. Many trees and grasses spread their pollen on the wind. They don't need animal visitors, so they don't need bright flowers. Pollinators, such as this bat, don't mean to get pollen all over themselves, but a cactus flower is shaped in such a way that the bat just can't help itself. Which flower fools a bee? A bee's orchids flowers look and smell just like female bees. Male bees zoom to the flowers wanting to mate with them, but they've been tricked. The plant is just using them as mailmen to deliver little packages of pollen to other orchids nearby. During the summer, the air can be so full of pollen that it makes many people sneeze. Poor things, they don't have a cold, they have hay fever. Which is the smelliest flower? The dead horse arum is well named. It stinks of rotten meat, but blowflies love it. These plump flies usually lay their eggs inside the rotting bodies of dead animals. They're fooled by the plant's rotten smell and crawl inside it to lay their eggs, picking up pollen on the way. Why is fruit so sweet and juicy? Plants make sweet, juicy fruits so that animals will eat them. Inside every fruit is one or more seeds. When an animal swallows the fruit, it swallows the seeds too. These pass through its body and fall out in the animal's droppings. In such good soil, the seeds soon start to grow into new plants. You often see seeds floating through the air. Dandelion seeds grow their own fluffy parachutes, and maple seeds have wings which spin them to the ground like tiny helicopters. The cotton-top tamarin lives in the South American rainforest. It feeds mainly on fruit, especially delicious, juicy figs. Which plant shoots from the hip? The Mediterranean squirting cucumber has a special way of spreading its seeds. As the fruit grows, it fills with a slimy juice. Day by day, the fruit grows fuller and fuller until it bursts, flinging the seeds out into the air. Which seeds sail away? Coconut palms grow near the shore, so the ripe coconuts just fall into the water. Protected by their hard shells, they float out to sea. After several weeks or months, they are washed up on a beach, where they sprout and start to grow. Fruits come in many different colors, but most animals seem to like red ones the best. Which fruits get forgotten? Many animals feed on acorns, the fruits of the oak tree. Squirrels enjoy them so much that every fall they bury some in the ground as a snack for when food is scarce in winter. The trouble is, the squirrels often forget where they've hidden their stores, so when spring comes, the young oaks start to grow. When does a seed begin to grow? Inside every seed is a tiny beginning of a new plant. This starts to grow when the soil around the seed is warm and damp. At first, the baby plant feeds on the food stored inside the seed. But as soon as its first leaves open, it begins to make food for itself. The bean seed swells with water and splits open. A root starts to grow. Tiny hairs grow out from the branches of the root. A shoot appears. It grows up toward the light. The shoot grows leaves. Now the new bean plant can make food for itself. Excuse me. The seed of the Horse chestnut tree has a tough brown coat. This rots away in the winter, and the young plants burst through in the spring. Do all plants grow from seeds? Strawberry plants don't need seeds to produce new plants. They can send out side shoots called runners, where when these touch the ground, roots begin to grow, then leaves and stems. In just a few weeks, there's a brand new plant. The Coco de Mer palm tree grows the largest seeds. They weigh 45 pounds, as much as a sack of potatoes. Which plant grows the fastest? The bamboo plant is the fastest growing plant in the world. Some kinds can grow nearly 3 feet a day. At that rate, they'd reach the roof of a 2-story house in a week. A cycad tree in Mexico must hold the record as the world's slowest growing plant. After 120 years, it was only 4 inches high. Which are the tastiest plants? Spices are made from plants. They have such a delicious smell and taste that we use them in cooking to add flavor to food. After being harvested, most spices are dried and then crushed to a powder that you can add to your food. Spices are made from different parts of the plant. Pepper comes from the berries, cinnamon from bark, and ginger from a root. Most spices come from plants that grow in tropical parts of the world. For hundreds of years, merchants have traveled around the world to buy spices at markets like this. Why do carrot plants grow carrots? A carrot is a tasty food, but it's not really meant for us. Carrot plants live for just 2 years. In the first year, they make food, which they store in a fat orange root. They use up the food in the second year while they're growing flowers and seeds, as long as the carrots haven't already been picked. Do people ever eat grass? Wheat, rice, corn, barley, oats, and rye are just some of the grasses that people eat all over the world. They don't eat the leaves like cows and other animals do. We harvest the seeds. Then we either eat them whole or grind them into flour to make bread, pasta, and other important foods. Roots, berries, leaves, and seeds. Plants give us so many wonderful foods that some people eat no meat at all. They are called vegetarians. Scientists can improve seeds so that they grow into stronger, healthier plants. This helps farmers to grow bigger and better crops. What are 300-million-year-old plants good for? 300 million years ago, there were huge forests of trees and ferns. As the plants died, they fell into muddy swamps and were buried in the mud. Slowly, over millions of years, the plants were pressed down and turned into a black rock called coal. Coal is a fuel. We burn it in power plants to make electricity. The coal we burn today comes from plants that grew before there were even dinosaurs. Shampoos, perfumes, bath oils, and creams are all made from sweet-smelling plants. That's how you smell so sweet. In some parts of the world, people run their cars on fuels made from corn, potatoes, and sugarcane plants. What are plants good for today? Today's plants are still giving us the food and oxygen we need to survive. They also help us to make lots of useful things, such as paper, clothes, and medicines. Every year, scientists discover new plants and new ways to use them. The corks that seal bottles of wine are made from the bark of the cork oak tree. Many of the medicines we buy at the drugstore are made from plants. All sorts of useful things are made from rubber. It comes from the sticky juices of the rubber tree. Cotton cloth is made from the soft hairs that surround the cotton plant's seeds. Linen is made from the stems of the flax plant. The end.